going on, guys? This is the 5 Yard Pass, bringing you the first week of the Premier League season. Fuck, I'm so excited. Um, Lots and lots of good games. We thought we'd pick out two huge games. To start off with, there's been a lot of kind of comments and subscribers. We've got a few new subscribers lately, and we're kind of really happy about it. So don't forget to like and comment, subscribe, what you think about our video today. My name is Suddy, and this is Shyam, just to recap. So today we're doing Villa versus Watford, Shyam. Not the most exciting game in terms of what's on the kind of menu this weekend, but I thought it was a good game. Villa strengthened a lot in the window, and Watford as well. They came in quite hot from the Championship, so I think it's one of the better games of the round. It may not be the blockbuster in Spurs and City, but what do you think about it?
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, we did pick Villa specifically because they have had some significant changes from last season. We did talk in the season preview about them having a need to go out and get just not so much in a sense quality, but just quantities. Or they were always a bit short on bodies. And it's interesting because Villa's owners are one of the richest owners in the Premier League, which is saying something given the level of wealth of the owners in the Premier League. But they've gone out and spent quite well, I think. I don't know if they spent just because they wanted to spend, or if they spent knowing that an offer was going to come in for Jack Grealish, who's a big loss. But they do definitely have some big ins, and particularly Buendia, who I think is probably the obvious successor for Grealish. Had a great season in the Championship. Is he going to be able to translate that form to the Premier League? Or it'll be very interesting to see.
Yeah, I think they've had some good. You said it well. They've spent well and they've acquired well. They got Tuanzebe on loan, and that backline is looking one of the best backlines, I think, besides kind of the top two or three teams, besides the United, Liverpool, and Cities. Mings, Tuanzebe, Matty Cash, and Ashley Young, potentially experienced player who brings something going forward as well.
Big question mark for Tuanzebe, though. I think that it is quite a make or break season for him.
Yeah,
he's not going to be an immediate starter, but you do feel he'll get his chance through the season.
You don't think so? You don't think so?
I think that Mings and I forgot the name of the other centre back. Sorry, but they do have a settled pairing there at the back. So I think he will get their choice, but I think he will get chances.
Well, Mings and Mings and Tuanzebe did very well 3 years ago in the Championship before they came up. So, yeah, I think you're right though. It's a break or break. In fact, it was a make or break season for him last year at United, but he didn't do as well after that PSG game, and they couldn't push on. Let's get to the previous meetings between the two sides. Obviously, they played a couple of years ago when Watford was up in the Premier League. Villa won the first game at Villa Park, and Watford won the second game 3-0. No points for telling me who scored. Troy Deeney obviously got a double, and he's still around with his amazing set of teeth to kind of scare. He'd be around there. I've always liked Troy Deeney, man. I think he's a very real guy. There was a video on TalkSport of him talking about buying an iPad for his kid. This kid broke it, and there's like, Dad, can I have another one? He's like, no, you can't. And the kid made a comment about him earning a lot of money, because I'm sure the kids know how much he makes. It's on the news, and the guy's like, no, you're not getting it. I kind of like the guy. So I think we'll just get to the game a bit more, I guess. The departure of Grealish, we didn't cover it when we did the Villa video because I kind of very emphatically said I don't think Grealish will leave, and he has. Now, I don't want to get too much on the Man City side of things. We could talk about it a bit later maybe, but is this a big loss for Villa, do you think?
Oh, definitely. He ticks all the boxes. He's a talismanic player. He's a talismanic leader. He's the best player in that team, and it was built around him to a large degree as well. So I think that it's a loss in the sense that they've lost a player, but Grealish looked after himself and the club and put a big transfer fee in, and Manchester City had to break their transfer strategy to go get him. They don't pay normally more than, I think Rodri, £64 million was their biggest signing ever. So they've gone and increased that by 50% to get Jack Grealish. So that in itself is the sign of how much they value Grealish. It's also a sign that Grealish has sort of thought ahead a bit and kind of knew that, set a line in the sand. If they cross the line, then he's gone.
That's something I didn't add as well. They went and bought Danny Ings as well this week for 35 million. That's a great acquisition. I forgot about that. And him and Ollie Watkins up front. We'll get to the game.
Is it 25 or 35?
I thought 35 is the final price. Whatever it is, I think it's a great acquisition. I think he's 29, so he still has. And he's got in 67 games in the last 2 years, 34 goals, 6 assists. And then you also have Buendia, who's a doubt this weekend. 77 games, 23 goals, 28 assists. I mean, there's great numbers if they were both to play. Getting straight to the game, though, it's interesting because Watford do have very seasoned Premier League players. They have Troy Deeney, Ismail Assar, Tom Cleverley, who, he's probably at 32, 33 at the minute. Danny Rose, who they got in from free. But I mean, Aston Villa, they're kind of picked to push for that Europa challenge for Champions League position. I think, and obviously they have Martinez at the back, making it a very, very solid midfield and backline. The whole problem with last year was they just couldn't score goals when Jack Grealish wasn't around. So I think these first 3 games is going to be a lot of feeling out what's the right way to go. It's going to be a lot of nerves. It's going to be a lot of let's just get the 1-0s and just move on, and we'll get Ollie Watkins and Danny Ings to if they score, they score. But it's not about team structure. It's all about getting the wins, as many teams are. But even more so, it's going to be tough for a team that lost their best player. I don't know if you see
Bailey, I think Buendia and Bailey, I think, are good signings for them, but you can't really expect them to come in on their debut and smash it out. Both of them will be playing their first Premier League game. They would have heard a lot about it. They'll be very excited but nervous at the same time. Ings is very shrewd. Interesting, he'll challenge Watkins. Ollie Watkins actually had a good season. Not a great one, but a good one. So it'll be interesting to see how they use Ings and Watkins and how that works. But that's what big clubs do. They have 2 players competing for every position. Villa's in an enviable position for most clubs because I think Watkins got 14 goals last year as well. So they have 2 good strikers. Not a lot of clubs can say they have 2 good strikers. Man City have none at the moment. So it's a good position to be in.
Yeah. And Watford, they've come back to the Premier League. Are you expecting much from Watford as the season goes on?
Funnily enough, the team that does the best generally is the team that won the championship. And then funnily enough, it's the team that wins the playoff that tends to do well. The team that finishes second in the championship, like Watford do tend to peter out. Watford are a classic yo-yo team. They do play that sort of, as much as football's moved on in England and it's about, that sort of pace, possession, intensity, in terms of pressing and that sort of thing. Watford still plays sort of a very athletic side. They play quite British football. It'll be interesting to see if they can turn it up technically. One thing English players struggle with is retention of the ball in midfield. They do have a good midfield, but that ability to hold onto the ball, I think, will be quite important if they can generate that. But I think there's going to be a lot of games where they're going to be outplayed. And I don't expect them to... I'd be surprised if they avoid relegation, frankly. They could, but I'd be surprised if they avoid getting relegated.
And do you see, this is something I was thinking of as well. It reminds me of when Bale left Spurs 8 years ago. I think he was sold for 95. I think at the time he was the most expensive at that time. Like he left a few years after.
Bale was all record fee, yeah.
Yeah, at the time. And Spurs bought badly. I think Lamela is the last guy to leave that whole rank of players that they bought. But I think Villa, for some reason, it feels like Villa's done a bit better to be very selective with their buying. Given that they bought a championship player for 35 million, Ings, proven Premier League player, Leon Bailey, who's a Jadon Sancho type, to be honest, very good player. Do you see them dipping into the market if the first few games doesn't go well?
Yeah, 100%. I think I had
to. Sorry, before that, given I think their net spend is positive 23 million, so they still have a bit in the bank. If you would think about that.
I actually think that they were trying to. I think almost to. I don't know how correct this is, but I wouldn't be surprised if they assumed Grealish was going to stay and bought the players anyway. So it means that they may have an extra 100 million on top. They do, like I said, have wealthy owners who are quite happy to invest. And people forget how big Aston Villa is. It's the biggest team in Birmingham, which is the second biggest city in England. There is, the former European Cup winners. There's a whole history there.
Huge league winners. I mean, the rumors are that Ward Prowse and Tammy Abraham want to come across. Those are 2 big players to get, man.
Wow.
Those are rumors I was reading about.
I think Ward Prowse would be really good for this Aston Villa team. Just the ability to just tick things over in midfield, give a bit of punch at set pieces, but more tick things over in midfield. Tammy Abraham, I'm not so sure because they've got Danny Ings, but it's not. If they can manage game time between 3 good strikers, then so be it.
But Tammy is a sort of player you want to play centrally, but you feel he could play out wide as the game goes on.
Tammy's a good player. I just think they're giving Buendia, Bailey, Ings, and Watkins. I'm just not sure how he fits in, but he's Abraham. I think he's got a very high ceiling.
Yeah, I do see Tammy Abraham's more of a central 4-2-3. Top of the 4-3 rather than a 4-4-2, which is Villa's kind of would lean towards that, given that they went and got an out-and-out winger in Ashley Young, Leon Bailey. But I do see, overall in this game, I do see Villa coming out on top. I think it's going to be a very scrappy 2-0, 2-1 win. The defense probably need to get to know each other a bit if Tuanzebe does start. but Villa look primed to start the league with a win.
Yeah, I think Villa will probably outplay Watford, but at the same time, I think they'll only nick it. I think it'll be a goal. I'll say 2-1. I do think that the attacking parts they have are very good. They just need to learn how to synergize. They basically had to rebuild their attack this summer. So
Yeah.
they may struggle for synergy a little bit early on, and they may get a few scrappy wins. That defense line becomes very important. Martinez becomes important. But if they can build that platform, they have the ability to really push on and challenge for those European places.
I mean, there's not only tactical deficits you got to kind of make up with Jack Grealish gone. You got to make up for psychological deficits. John McGinn relies on Grealish. Ollie Watkins relies on him, so on and so forth. Al Ghazi as well. So
a massive leader
yeah, you're right.
team as well. Yeah.
Yeah, as a leader, everything just kind of, you'll see that with Barcelona this season. I think a lot of these players, there will be a bit of a drop off because people kind of like, where's the point man? But this game specifically, I think Villa will come on top, and I think I'd be surprised if either one of our predictions we don't come close to it. But any closing thoughts?
No, I'm excited. Villa, to me, I do actually see them going into the market a bit more. I do think that they will try. I think they have the ability to become a destination club, but it depends on how much the owners back them in, like I said. To bring in the players that they have and have sort of still be in the black on the transfer market, to me says that they'll do more business. The fact that they've got the players very early, though, is also very proactive. It's a good sign of the ownership. You made a point about Bale's transfer not really working out for Tottenham. It's because they sold him on deadline day and then bought 7 players on deadline day. It's never going to work. Villa were proactive about it, and kudos to them.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for watching, guys. We are the 5 Year Pass Podcast. My name is Suddy. This is Shyam. Keep football simple, and as always,
keep passing, guys. Cheers.